some outdoor activities.
Amanda Taggart is trying to focus on the nice moments, but the single mom of two acknowledges the pandemic has been tough, especially since work as a supply teacher dried up.
As a single mom, everything's on your shoulders to provide all the income from the house, to do all the homeschooling now, as well as taking care of the home, meal preps, everything right now.
Women were hit harder early on, with jobs in the restaurant and retail sector disappearing. This month's data shows male-dominated fields like manufacturing and construction are feeling the effects too. Women now make up just over half of the jobs lost.
Women are both frontlined and sidelined in this crisis.
This economist says it's a shift from the past when men have been the hardest hit.
Women make up 80% of healthcare, and they are being put in the front lines of providing services. And on the other hand, they're also being sidelined in service sectors that have been shut down.
The Prime Minister acknowledged today some workers are being affected more than others,
particularly women and new Canadians and young people.
His government has introduced emergency measures to try to help, but he says more will be needed, including childcare.
There needs to be more and secure childcare spaces for people to get back into the workforce.
There also needs to be jobs to go back to. To create them, politicians often pour money into construction projects. Some argue it's time to spend in areas that will help more women, including healthcare and childcare.
In systems that provide care and will actually relieve huge amounts of burden that we have placed for too long on women.
Amanda Taggart's burden has eased a bit. After we spoke with her, she found a job, something millions of Canadians are hoping for right now. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
So let's talk about what might be next. Peter Armstrong is our senior business correspondent. And Peter, first of all, have things bottomed out?
Well, shockingly, Ian, as deep and as profound these numbers are, they're probably not the worst of it, at least not yet. And, think about a small business in your town or your neighborhood right across the country that's just barely holding on now. As this crisis deepens and as it drags on, as it will, some of those businesses won't be able to make it. They'll decide to make adjustments, they'll decide to make layoffs, and we'll have to account for those. The other big thing is the labor force survey that we got these jobs data from was in the field in mid-April, and we know things have changed since then. 7.6 million Canadians have applied for the CERB. And so when you look at those that have been laid off or lost work or lost hours, they still don't sort of add up to 7.6 million. So there's a missing number there. We'll look for them to be added in to the main numbers.
Now, on the plus side, there are businesses that are reopening or ramping up. What should bounce back first?
Well, I think you could look at construction sites. We'll probably go back pretty quickly, and we've seen a bunch of those jobs were laid off in the last month. Manufacturing, it's harder, but we could see a lot of those jobs too. But let's bring up a graph here to look at where the job losses have been concentrated. And so far, we're seeing it in food and accommodation and retail sales. Those are going to take longer, if only because that depends on the consumers of Canada, the me's and the you's, going back out and finding the confidence to buy and to spend and to go to these places. You have to think about when's the next time you're going to meet a friend for lunch somewhere, let alone go out and see a movie.
All right. Thank you, Peter.